My mother told the whole town I died the day I left home. For 7 years, she believed I stole from my family and ran away. But I came back with old letters, hidden receipts, and one recording that proved the truth. I didn't leave to betray them. I left so they could survive. The first time I came home in 7 years, my mother was standing under church basement lights, telling a room full of people that I had died the day I left. She did not know I was near the back door with snow melting off my boots and a canvas tote bag hanging from my shoulder. She did not know that inside that bag were 7 years of receipts, returned letters, legal notices, and one old furnace part that still smelled faintly like dust and burned metal. She only knew the story she had told herself so many times that the whole town had learned it by heart. Rilla Hartrow stole from her family. Rilla Hartrow ran away. Rilla Hartrow broke her mother's heart and never looked back. In Garnet Ridge, Missouri, people believed what was repeated with enough sorrow. And my mother, Ivena Hartrow, had turned sorrow into a public speech. It was the winter relief dinner, the same church event my family had once helped every December. Folding tables filled the basement. Crockpots steamed against the far wall. Children ran between metal chairs, with paper snowflakes taped above their heads. My mother stood near the microphone in a navy dress, her silver hair pinned tightly at the back of her head, looking like a woman who had survived every storm by refusing to bend. People admired that about her. They called her strong. They called her faithful. They said she had carried her family after her oldest daughter destroyed it. I watched her smile at them with that hard, perfect face I remembered too well. Then old Brenly Dusk, who had lived across from us since I was 9, asked softly from the second table, "Ivena, has Rilla ever tried to come home?" The room changed before my mother answered. Spoons stopped. Cups paused halfway to mouths. Even the children felt the quiet and slowed down. My mother leaned toward the microphone. She did not shout. That would have been easier to forgive. She spoke clearly, almost gently, like she was correcting a church bulletin. "Please don't say that name here. My daughter died the day she walked out on this family." A few women lowered their eyes. A man near the coffee urn nodded like he respected her pain. Demer, my mother's cousin and the town's favorite helper, sat at the front table with his hands folded, wearing a charcoal coat and the small calm smile of a man who had trained everyone in the room to hate the wrong person. When his eyes finally found me by the back door, his smile slipped for less than a second. That was all I needed. 7 years away had changed my hair, my voice, my clothes, and the way I carried fear. But it had not changed his memory of the girl he had tried to bury alive in a lie. I did not walk straight to my mother. I let the room see me first. Not because I wanted a scene, but because I was tired of living like a rumor. Someone gasped. A spoon hit the floor. Brenly Dusk stood up so fast her chair scraped the tile. My mother turned slowly, annoyed at the interruption, and then her face emptied. She did not cry. She did not say my name. She looked at me the way people look at damage after a storm, not with love, but with anger that the thing still exists. "You should leave," she said. Her voice did not need the microphone anymore. "This dinner is for families." I held the strap of my tote bag tighter. That is why I came." A soft murmur moved through the room. Demer rose from his chair, pretending concern. "Rilla," he said, using a warm tone he had no right to use. "Tonight is not the night." I looked at him, and for the first time since I was 23, I let him see that I was not afraid of him. "No, Demer," I said. "Tonight is exactly the night." Before anyone understood what I meant, my mind pulled me backward, because every ending begins somewhere small. Ours began in a repair shop on Older Mill Road, in a building with a dented tin roof and a sign that said Hartrow Heating and Repair. My father, Barton Hartrow, could make a dead furnace breathe again in the middle of a Missouri ice storm. He was quiet, patient, and always smelled like metal, coffee, and cold air. My little brother, Price, used to sit on upside-down buckets and hand him tools he did not know the names of. My mother handled the phones, the church orders, the invoices, and everyone's feelings with the same sharp pencil. We were not rich, but our house was warm. That mattered in Garnet Ridge. A warm house meant somebody had worked hard enough to keep winter outside. I grew up thinking love sounded like my father's van starting before dawn, and my mother calling after him, "Take your gloves, Barton. Don't be stubborn." Demer Shale was always around in those days. He was my mother's cousin, though she treated him more like a brother who had been given back by heaven. He wore polished boots and expensive watches, but he spoke like a farm boy when it helped him. He told my parents he understood forms, taxes, loans, business renewals, all the paper things my father hated. When Dad's hands started shaking from nerve damage and Mom got tired of fighting insurance companies, Demer stepped in. He called himself family. He carried grocery bags. He paid for lunch. He prayed loudly at church. Everyone said we were lucky to have him. I believed it too, until the winter I started doing the books and found payments that did not belong. At first, the numbers looked like mistakes. A supplier charge from a company we had never used. A small loan renewal my father did not remember signing. A late fee on an account my mother said had been closed. Then I found my brother's name on a document connected to a credit line. Price was 19 and careless, but he was not that careless. He had never seen the paper. His signature looked close enough from far away and wrong enough if you loved him. When I asked my father about it, he rubbed his thumb along the edge of the invoice and said, "Demer said he handled that." When I asked my mother, her eyes hardened. "Your cousin has done more for this family than anyone," she said. "Don't start picking at people who help us." That was my mother's weakness. She could spot disrespect from across a room, but she could not always recognize danger when it arrived with a casserole and a Bible verse. I kept looking, quietly. I stayed after hours at the shop and copied statements with shaking hands. I followed payment trails from fake supplier accounts to small banks outside our county. I found my mother's social security number attached to a guarantee she had never read. I found my father's initials on forms signed on days he had been in physical therapy. The worst thing I found was not the money, it was the shape of the trap. If anyone pulled the wrong thread, my father could be charged for loan fraud. My mother could lose the house. Price could be tied to a false equipment theft report that had his forged signature on it. Demer had not just stolen from us. He had built a cage around us and handed my family the keys without telling them what they opened. I confronted him on a Tuesday night in the repair bay, under the yellow light above my father's workbench. Snow clicked against the metal door. I had copies in my coat pocket and more courage than wisdom. Demer did not deny it. That should have scared me more than it did. He only smiled, slow and tired, like I had wasted his time. "Rilla," he said, "you always were the one who thought love made you smart." I told him I was going to the police. He walked to the old furnace shell near the wall and tapped it twice with his knuckles. "Go," he said. "Tell them everything. Then watch your father explain why his name is on 7 dirty loans. Watch your brother explain why stolen equipment was moved under his signature. Watch your mother find out her house was used as collateral." I felt my throat close. He stepped closer. "Or you can be useful for once. Leave town. Let them think you took the missing money. I can fix the rest." He lowered his voice. "Your mother trusts me more than she trusts her own blood. Don't test that. You won't like who she chooses." I wanted to run home and tell my mother. I wanted to fall at her feet with the papers and beg her to believe me. But truth is not always safe the first time you hold it. I took the copies to a state office 2 counties over, where a woman named Nadia Flint listened without blinking. She was not soft, but she was fair, and at that point, fair felt like mercy. She explained that Demer was already linked to a wider fraud case involving repair contractors, false loans, and small-town business accounts. They needed someone close enough to help track him. They needed marked money, recorded contact, proof of coercion, and time. Then she said the sentence that changed my life. If you help us, you cannot contact your family while he still has access to them. Not directly, not emotionally, not secretly through friends. One wrong call can warn him, and one warned man can destroy evidence or hurt someone. I asked how long. She looked away before answering. Longer than you want. The money everyone said I stole was never mine. It was $46,800 in marked funds, moved through an account Demer believed he had forced me to drain. Nadia's team tracked every step. I handed it over exactly where Demer told me to, behind a closed feed store outside Calhoun Bend, with my pulse beating so hard I thought it would show through my coat. He thought that money proved I was guilty. In truth, it proved he was. But an investigation is not a church confession. You do not speak and get washed clean. You wait. You sign statements. You sleep in cheap rooms. You work jobs under your middle name. You watch birthdays pass on a phone you are not allowed to use. And sometimes you become the villain in the only story your family is allowed to hear. The night I left home, my mother was waiting in the driveway. Demer had reached her first. Of course he had. He told her I had emptied the business account and blamed him when he caught me. He told her I was unstable, jealous, greedy. He told her I had always thought I was better than the town, better than the shop, better than the family. The worst lies are built from little frustrations people already carry. My mother had always feared I would leave Garnet Ridge and look down on her life. Demer used that fear like a match. She stood in the headlights with no coat, her hands clenched at her sides. "Tell me you didn't steal from your father," she said. I opened my mouth. For one burning second, I almost broke the rule. I almost told her everything. Then I saw Demer's truck parked half a block down, engine running, watching. I thought of Price. I thought of Dad's tired hands. I thought of the house my mother had scrubbed and defended for 28 years. So I swallowed the truth until it cut me going down. "I can't explain it tonight," I said. That was all I could give her. My mother's face changed in a way I still feel in my bones. Hope left first. Then love stepped back to make room for pride. "Then leave," she said, "and don't come back as my daughter." I had written her a letter before I walked out. 4 pages in blue ink, shaking and messy, telling her that if she hated me after tonight, I would understand, but I needed her alive more than I needed her approval. I had folded it into an envelope with her name on it. I did not hand it to her. Demer was watching. Instead, I put it inside my coat and drove away, while my mother stood in the driveway like a judge passing sentence. The next morning, Garnet Ridge knew I was a thief. By Sunday, my mother had told the church I was dead to her. 7 years is a long time to be alive in secret. I cleaned vacation cabins near Table Rock Lake. I stocked shelves in Kansas under a manager who never asked why I flinched when someone said my hometown. I gave statements in rooms with no windows. I identified signatures until every loop of my brother's name became a wound. Sometimes Nadia called and said, "We are closer." Sometimes she called and said nothing useful at all. My father died in the 5th year, not because of Demer, not directly, but from a heart that had worked too hard for too long. I was allowed to attend the burial only from a distance. I stood under an oak tree beyond the cemetery fence wearing sunglasses in the rain. My mother never saw me. Price stood beside her, taller than I remembered, his shoulders stiff with grief. Demer held an umbrella over my mother like a saint in a charcoal suit. That was the closest I came to walking into the open before the case was ready. I did not stop helping them. That is the part my mother did not know, and maybe the part that would hurt her most. When the gas bill went unpaid during the coldest January in 12 years, I paid it through a relief fund Nadia helped me use without showing my name. When the mortgage fell 3 months behind, I sent money through Brenly Dusk's church account. and Brenly never knew the source because Nadia made sure of it. When Price needed a lawyer after a false equipment charge appeared under his name, the consultation was paid before he arrived. My mother told people the Lord provided. I let her. Maybe he did, in a strange way, through the daughter she had already buried in her heart. I kept every receipt, not because I planned revenge, but because proof had become my second language. Love without proof had failed me once. I did not trust it alone anymore. I wrote letters too, 38 of them. Some I sent through the protected channel when Nadia said it was safe. Some came back unopened. Some were never delivered because Demer still had ways to reach my mother's mail through the shop office. Some I kept because the risk was too high. They were not dramatic letters. Mostly, they were ordinary. I asked if Mom still burned the first batch of biscuits every Thanksgiving because she got distracted making gravy. I asked if Price still tapped his fingers when he lied. I told her Dad's old green thermos was with me and that I washed it every Friday like a ritual. In one letter, I wrote, "I did not stop being your daughter. I only stopped being allowed to prove it." I folded that one carefully and kept it in the box with the others. I used to think the returned letters meant my mother had rejected me again and again. Later, I learned some of them had never reached her hands. The case moved slowly because Demer was careful. Men like him do not steal like desperate people. They steal like gardeners. They plant small things, they water them. They wait for shade to grow. He had accounts under old business names, favors from bank clerks, and enough kindness in public to make doubt look rude. But careful men get lazy around people they believe are already beaten. Demer believed I was gone forever. He believed my mother's hatred had finished what his threats began. Then my father's old repair van was sold, and Price, not knowing what it meant, called a scrap hauler to clear out the shop. Before it left, Brenly Dusk found a small thermostat housing tucked behind the passenger seat. She thought it might have been one of Dad's old parts and set it aside. Months later, when Nadia's team checked it, they found the tiny recorder I had hidden inside the night Demer threatened me. I had forgotten how much it captured. The snow against the door. My breathing. Demer's voice saying, clear as a bell, "Let the girl take the blame. Ivena will bury her before she believes her." That tape reopened everything. It connected his threats to the marked money. It matched the forged loans to his outside accounts. It explained why I had left and why I had stayed away. The state did not need me hidden anymore. Demer, however, did not know that yet. That was why I returned on the night of the winter relief dinner. Not to beg my mother, not to ruin her in front of people. I returned because Nadia had warned me that Demer was making one final move. He had prepared papers for my mother to sign, papers that looked like a refinance agreement for old business debt. In reality, they would give him control of the shop land and the family house if payments failed again. He planned to take the last thing my father built, using my mother's trust as the key. After 7 years of silence, I had one job left. I had to stop my mother from handing her life to the man who had taught her to hate me. Back in the church basement, my mother stood frozen near the microphone. "You have no right to come here," she said. Her voice trembled, but pride held it upright. "After what you did to your father, after what you did to Price, after you left me to clean up your shame." I heard pain under every word. That was the cruel thing. She was wrong, but she had truly suffered. Demer had made sure of that. Price appeared from the hallway carrying a tray of paper cups. He saw me and stopped so suddenly, coffee spilled over his wrist. He looked older, leaner, with our father's sad eyes. "Rilla?" he whispered. My mother snapped, "Don't." One word, sharp enough to cut him back into childhood. Demer moved between us, palms open, performing peace. "This is not healthy for your mother," he said. "You should go before you make things worse." I reached into my tote and touched the folder inside. "I spent 7 years making sure things did not get worse," I said. "You spent 7 years making sure nobody knew why." Demer's face went flat. Most people missed it. I did not. My mother stepped down from the small platform and walked toward me. Every person in that basement watched like we were not human but weather. "Did you come for money?" she asked. "Is that it? Did life finally teach you what family was worth?" I could have answered with anger. I had earned that much. But anger would have helped Demer. It would have made me look like the woman he invented. So I kept my voice low. "I came because he wants you to sign papers tonight." Her eyes flicked just once toward Demer. "That is none of your business." "It became my business," I said, "when the same man who framed me tried to take Dad's shop." The room stirred. Demer laughed softly. "Framed you? Rilla, you disappeared with nearly $50,000. 46,800, I corrected. You always hated when numbers stayed exact. The repair bay was only 6 minutes from the church, but the drive felt like crossing 7 years of winter. My mother refused to ride with me. She went with Demer. Price rode with Brenly, who had taken my arm in the parking lot, and whispered, "Child, I knew there was more." I did not answer because kindness was harder to survive than hate. Nadia Flint met us at Hartrow Heating and Repair in a plain dark coat with 2 state officers waiting near the side door. She had agreed not to enter the church unless Demer ran. The old shop looked smaller than I remembered. The sign was faded. Snow had gathered in the corners of the lot. Inside, the repair bay smelled like oil, dust, and the ghost of my father's coffee. His workbench still had burn marks from soldering tools. His handwriting was still in a cardboard box marked blower wheels. Good ones. For a moment, I almost forgot why we were there. My mother saw Nadia and stiffened. "What is this?" Demer said before she could. "Some performance?" Nadia showed her badge and spoke with calm authority. "Mrs. Hartrow, no one is asking you to sign anything tonight. We are asking you to listen." My mother looked at me with disgust, sharpened by fear. "You brought state people to your father's shop?" "No," I said. "Demer brought them here 7 years ago. I just came back with proof." He scoffed and reached for his phone, but one officer stepped closer. "Mr. Shale, keep your hands visible." That was the first time my mother looked truly afraid. Not of me, of the space opening under the story she had trusted. Demer's voice turned smooth. "Ivena, this is nonsense. She has always been dramatic." I looked around the shop, at the shelves, the old furnace shells, the hanging coils of hose. "Dad used to say, 'Heat does not lie,'" I said. "Either the room warms up or it doesn't. So let's stop talking and check what still works." I opened the canvas tote on my father's workbench. I did not dump the papers out. I placed them one by one because some truths deserve a steady hand. First came the marked funds report. Nadia explained it simply. The money I was accused of stealing had been tracked by state investigators. It passed from the business account through a controlled transfer, then to Demer's direction, then into an account connected to his fake supplier network. My mother stared at the page like it was written in another language. "No," she said. "She took that money. You told me she took it." Demer shook his head. "I told you what the records showed." Nadia slid the next page forward. The records were created by accounts Mr. Shale controlled. Price leaned over the table, pale and silent. His own forged signature stared back at him from a loan form he had never signed. Then I placed the utility payment trail on the bench. Gas bills, mortgage arrears, medication copays, legal consultation fees for Price. Small amounts, large amounts, all paid through channels that hid my name because I had to stay protected. My mother picked up the January gas bill from the winter after Dad died. I remembered that one. She had told the church a donor saved her from freezing pipes. I had been in a motel laundry room when I paid it, wearing 2 sweaters because my own heat did not work. Her fingers shook as she read the confirmation line. "This was you?" she asked, but her voice was so small I almost did not recognize it. I nodded once. Not all at once, not easily, but yes. She looked at me then, really looked, and I saw the first crack in the wall she had built. Behind it was not love yet. It was terror. Because if I had not abandoned her, then she had abandoned me. Demer moved toward the door. The officer blocked him. "This is harassment," he said. His face had begun to shine with sweat. These papers don't prove why she ran. No, I said. This does. I took out the old thermostat housing. It was ugly and gray, with one side cracked. My father had kept parts like that because he believed anything could be useful twice. Nadia connected a small speaker to the restored recording device. The shop filled with static first. Then came my younger voice, thinner and scared, saying, "If I go to the police, they'll know you did it." Then Demer's voice answered from 7 years ago, patient and cruel. "Go. Tell them everything. Then watch your father explain the loans. Watch your brother explain the equipment. Watch your mother lose the house." My mother covered her mouth. The tape continued. "Leave town," Demer said from the speaker. "Let them think you took the missing money. Your mother trusts me more than she trusts her own blood." A pause. Then the line that emptied the room. "Let the girl take the blame. Ivena will bury her before she believes her." No one spoke after the tape stopped. Silence can be louder than screaming when it has nowhere to hide. My mother's hand dropped from her mouth. She looked at Demer as if seeing a stranger wearing a relative's face. "You said she stole from us," she whispered. Demer's control finally broke. "Because she was supposed to stay gone." The words came out sharp and ugly. He knew it the moment he said them. Nadia's eyes moved to the officer, and the officer moved closer. Price stepped back from Demer like poison had spilled between them. My mother reached for the workbench, not because she wanted the papers, but because her knees were giving way. I did not move to hold her. That may sound cold, but there are moments when comfort can become another lie. She needed to feel the weight of what she had believed. Nadia placed the non-contact protection notice beside the tape transcript. "Mrs. Hartrow," she said, "your daughter was a confidential cooperating witness. During the active phase of the investigation, contact with immediate family was restricted because Mr. Shale had access to your business, your mail, your accounts, and your personal communication. Direct contact could have put evidence and family members at risk." My mother stared at the notice. "So she could not call?" "Not without risking the case," Nadia said, "and possibly you." My mother closed her eyes. I could see 7 years moving through her face. Every birthday with an empty chair. Every Sunday when she corrected someone for saying my name. Every time she told herself hate was strength. Every time she let Demer stand beside her while the daughter she cursed paid the bill that kept her lights on. I took out the last box. It was tied with a plain cord, the corners soft from being carried through too many rented rooms. "These are not evidence for the state," I said. My voice finally shook. "These are just mine." I opened it and placed the letters on the bench. 38 envelopes. Some stamped returned, some never sent. Some opened by investigators and resealed. My mother reached for one with her name written in my old handwriting. She knew that handwriting. Mothers do not forget the shape of their child's letters, even when pride tells them to. She opened it slowly. I knew which one it was before she read the first line. "Mom, I know you may hate me after tonight, but if hating me keeps you alive, I will carry that hate quietly." Her lips moved without sound. She pressed the page to her chest and made a broken noise I had never heard from her before. "Why didn't you tell me?" she asked. The question was not fair, but grief rarely asks fair questions. I looked at Demer, who was now silent between two officers. Then I looked at my mother. "Because you were safer hating me than knowing what he had done." Her face crumpled. "I called you dead." I did not soften the truth for her. "I know. I said it in church. I heard. I let him stand at your father's grave." That one hurt more than I expected. I looked down at Dad's workbench, at the burn mark near my thumb. I saw. My mother took one step toward me, then stopped like she had hit glass. For years, she had imagined that if I returned, she would decide whether to forgive me. Now she understood that forgiveness had changed sides. Demer tried one last time to save himself. "Ivena, she's twisting this. You know me." My mother turned on him so slowly that even he went quiet. "I did know you," she said. "That was the problem." There was no dramatic slap, no scream, No speech for the town to repeat later. She simply removed the small gold cross pin he had given her after my father died and placed it on the workbench like something contaminated. Nadia read him his rights near the side door. The officers led him out past the old furnace shells, past the same wall where he had threatened me, past the business he had tried to swallow piece by piece. He did not look at me again. Men like Demer hate being exposed, but they hate being seen clearly even more. After he was gone, the shop felt colder, then strangely lighter. Price came to me first. He did not ask permission. He wrapped his arms around me with a force that knocked the breath from my chest. "I thought you hated us," he said into my shoulder. For a second, I was 23 again, wanting to protect the little brother who used to hand Dad the wrong screwdriver and grin. I held him back. "Never," I said. "Not one day." He cried quietly, embarrassed by it, but I did not let go until he did. Brenly Dusk stood near the shelves, wiping her eyes with the edge of her scarf. Nadia gathered the papers without interrupting. She understood that legal truth and family truth do not land at the same speed. My mother remained by the workbench with the letters spread before her. She looked smaller than she had at the church, not weak but unarmored. "Rilla," she said, and my name sounded strange in her mouth, like a hymn she had forgotten the melody to. I turned. She was holding the first letter, the one from the night I left. "I don't know how to be your mother after what I did." That was the most honest thing she had said to me in 7 years. I wanted to tell her it was okay, but it was not. I wanted to run into her arms, but the child who needed that had learned to sleep in locked rooms and pay bills from the shadows. So I gave her the only mercy I could give without betraying myself. "Start by not calling me dead anymore," I said. She nodded, tears sliding down her face. "I can do that." "And tomorrow," I added, "read the letters. All of them. Don't skip the hard ones." She held them tighter. "I won't." The old heater in the corner clicked then, startling us all. Price had turned the power back on without saying anything. The unit coughed, rattled, then pushed a stream of warm air into the repair bay. It smelled like dust burning off after a long season of cold. My father used to say that smell meant a house was remembering how to be lived in. I stood under that weak heat with my brother beside me, my mother across the bench, and my father's tools still hanging on the wall. Nothing was fixed. Not really. A lie that lasts 7 years does not disappear because proof arrives in a folder. But the lie had lost its throne. That was enough for one night. The next Sunday, my mother went back to the same church basement. I did not go with her. I heard about it from Brenly, who called me afterward, crying and trying to pretend she was not. My mother stood in front of the same microphone and told the town she had been wrong. She did not tell every detail. Some truths belonged to the investigation, and some belonged only to us. But she said my name. She said I had not stolen from the family. She said I had protected them when they did not know they needed protection. Then she said the sentence I had waited 7 years to hear. Not because it healed everything, but because it finally opened the door. My daughter did not die the day she left, she told them. I was the one who buried her without asking why she had gone. I did not move back into my mother's house. People expected that because people love a clean ending. They wanted a hug, a meal, a photograph, a miracle before Christmas. Life is not that tidy. I stayed in a small rental near the edge of town where the trains passed at night. Price came over with groceries he did not know how to arrange in my fridge. My mother left messages that were too formal at first, then too emotional, then finally simple. I made soup. Your father's thermos is still here if you want the lid. I read letter 12 today. I am sorry for that one too. Some days I answered. Some days I could not. Healing is not a straight road. It is more like an old furnace. It starts, stops, complains, and needs patience from everyone in the room. Months later, when Demer's case became public, Garnet Ridge changed its story the way small towns do. Some people claimed they had always suspected him. Some said my mother had been manipulated. Some apologized to me in grocery aisles with one hand on a cereal box, as if shame needed something ordinary to hold. I accepted a few apologies. I ignored more. I had not survived 7 years to become a public lesson for people who enjoyed my pain when it was easier than thinking. The only apology that mattered was still being written in my mother's actions. She sold Demer's old lies piece by piece. She reopened the shop office for Price, not as a grand business comeback, but as a repair desk with honest books. On the first cold morning of November, she wrote my name on the emergency contact list again. Rilla Hartrow, daughter, alive. The night I finally sat at her kitchen table, snow was falling against the window, just like it had the night I left. My mother placed coffee in front of me with both hands. She looked at the empty chair where Dad used to sit, then at me. "I don't deserve this," she said. I wrapped my fingers around the warm mug. "No," I answered honestly. "But I didn't come because you deserved it. I came because I got tired of letting Demer be the last word between us." She cried then, quietly, without asking me to rescue her from the guilt that mattered. For the first time, her regret did not feel like another burden placed in my lap. It felt like something she was finally willing to carry herself. My mother spent 7 years telling people I died the day I left. For a long time, I thought those words were the worst thing she had done to me. But the deeper wound was not that she called me dead. It was that she never asked what kind of danger could make a daughter leave without defending herself. She never asked why I stayed silent. She never asked who benefited from her hate. That is how families lose each other sometimes, not only through betrayal, but through the comfort of one easy explanation. Demer gave my mother a villain, and she accepted one because it hurt less than doubt. I carried the cost of that choice in returned letters, hidden payments, and birthdays spent as a ghost. But I was never dead. I was working. I was waiting. I was keeping the heat on from far away. And when the truth finally came home, it did not arrive with shouting. It arrived in a canvas tote bag, in a cracked thermostat housing, in 38 letters, and in a daughter who had learned that love can be quiet without being weak. My mother learned that night that I had not left to abandon them. I had left so they could survive long enough to hate me. And maybe that was the saddest kind of love, but it was still love. And for the first time in 7 years, it was finally standing in the light. Commentary, explanation, and life lessons. Before we look at this story like a simple family drama, let's pause and look at what is really happening under the surface. This is not just a story about a daughter coming back after 7 years. This is a story about how a lie can become truth when a family repeats it for too long. Rilla was not only blamed for stealing money, she was erased. Her mother did not just say, "My daughter hurt me." She said, "My daughter died the day she left." That one sentence is very powerful because it shows us how pain can turn into punishment. Ivena was hurt, yes, but she also used that hurt like a weapon. She made Rilla into a ghost while Rilla was still alive. And that is where the real tragedy begins. At the start, we see Rilla return during a public church dinner. This is important because the story does not begin in private. It begins in front of the town. Why? Because the lie was public, the shame was public, the insult was public. So the truth also needed a public doorway. Rilla does not burst in shouting. She does not beg everyone to listen. She just stands there, calm, with a canvas tote bag. That bag is almost like a symbol. It looks simple from the outside, but inside it holds 7 years of pain, proof, letters, and sacrifice. This is one of the strongest ideas in the story. Real truth does not always arrive loudly. Sometimes it arrives quietly, in a bag full of documents, after years of being ignored. Let's talk about Ivena, the mother. She is not written as a simple monster. That makes the story more emotional. If she were only evil, the audience would not feel so much conflict. Ivena is proud, wounded, and easy to control because she wants to believe she is strong. She thinks cutting Rilla out of her life is strength. But actually, it is fear wearing a strong face. She cannot face the question, what if my daughter had a reason? So she chooses the easier answer. My daughter betrayed me. That answer hurts, but it also protects her pride. Sometimes people hold on to a painful lie because the truth would force them to admit they were wrong. And admitting that can feel heavier than grief. Now look at Demer Shale. He is the real danger in the story because he does not act like a villain at first. He acts like a helper. He is the trusted cousin, the man who brings support, handles papers, speaks kindly, and stands beside the family during hard times. That is why his betrayal hits deeper. The story teaches us that not every harmful person enters your life with anger. Some enter with favors. Some enter by becoming too useful. Demer understands people's weak spots. He knows Ivena needs someone to trust. He knows Barton is tired. He knows Price is young. He knows Rilla is the only one watching the numbers carefully. So he removes Rilla first, not physically, but emotionally. He makes the family reject the one person who could expose him. This is a very important point for the audience. Demer does not just steal money, he steals trust. He changes the family's emotional map. He makes Ivena see Rilla as the enemy, and he makes himself look like the protector. That is a very dangerous kind of manipulation. When someone controls the story, they can control the family. And for 7 years, Demer controls the story. He makes everyone believe Rilla ran away with money. But the truth is the opposite. Rilla left because staying could destroy the people she loved. Her silence was not weakness. It was protection. The most painful scene is the night Rilla leaves. Her mother is in the driveway. Demer has already poisoned her mind. Rilla wants to explain. We can feel that. She is standing right there with the truth inside her, but she cannot say it. This is where the story becomes deeper than normal revenge. Usually, people think being innocent means you should speak immediately. But here, speaking would put the family in more danger. Rilla's choice is terrible from every side. If she talks, Demer may destroy the evidence and hurt the family legally. If she stays silent, her mother will hate her. So she chooses the pain that protects others. That is not weakness. That is a very mature and painful form of love. And here is where we need to ask the audience something. How many times do we judge someone because we only see the outside result? Rilla left. That is what people saw. But they did not see why. They did not see the threats, the investigation, the forged signatures, the marked money, or the legal risk. This happens in real life too. People see someone leave a family, a job, a friendship, or a marriage, and they immediately create a simple story. They are selfish. They changed. They forgot us. But sometimes people leave because staying would destroy them or someone else. This story reminds us not to build a full judgment from half of the truth. The evidence in the story is also meaningful. It is not just random proof. Each piece of evidence answers one emotional wound. The marked money proves Rilla did not steal. The utility payments prove she did not abandon the family. The legal notice proves she was not allowed to contact them. The returned letters prove she still loved them. And the furnace tape proves Demer knew exactly what he was doing. This is a powerful structure because the truth does not come from one dramatic speech. It comes piece by piece. That feels more real. In life, big lies often fall apart slowly. One receipt, one message, one old document, one person finally willing to listen. The furnace tape is especially strong because it connects to the family business. This family was built around heating and repair. Barton fixed furnaces. The shop was about warmth, safety, and survival during cold weather. So using an old thermostat, housing as the place where the truth is hidden, gives the story a deeper symbol. The truth was hidden inside the same world where the family once felt warm. Demer tried to turn that shop into a trap, but the shop also saved Rilla's truth. That is good storytelling because the object is not just evidence. It belongs to the emotional world of the family. The returned letters are the heart of the story. They are not legal proof in the same way, but they are emotional proof. Rilla wrote again and again, even when she could not send everything safely. She did not stop being a daughter. She stopped being allowed to prove it. That line carries the whole emotional pain of the story. Imagine loving your family, helping them from far away, paying their bills, protecting their future, and still being called dead by your own mother. That is the deepest wound in the story. Not just that Rilla was misunderstood, but that she kept loving people who were publicly rejecting her. Now let's look at the repair bay reveal. The story does not use a courtroom or a wedding or a funeral scene. That makes it feel different. The truth comes out in the old family shop, the place connected to work, fatherhood, survival, and winter warmth. This matters because the family's real history lives there. Ivena has to face the truth in the place where Barton built his honest life. Demer tried to use that place for fraud. Rilla brings the truth back there and cleans the room emotionally. It is not just a reveal. It is almost like returning the shop to its real owner. Truth. One of the most important moments is when Demer says she was supposed to stay gone. That line destroys him. Why? Because guilty people often expose themselves when control slips. For years, Demer was calm because everyone believed him. But once the evidence appears, he cannot keep the mask on. His anger reveals what his smile was hiding. This is a strong lesson. When manipulative people lose control, they often tell on themselves. They may deny, twist, blame, or attack, but their reaction shows the truth before they even realize it. Ivena's breakdown is also handled carefully. She does not become innocent just because she was manipulated. This is important. Demer lied to her, but she chose to believe the lie without asking enough questions. She chose public shame over private doubt. She chose pride over patience. So when the truth comes out, her pain is real, but her guilt is also real. The story does not let her escape with one apology. That makes the ending stronger. Rilla does not run into her arms instantly. She does not say, "It's okay," because it is not okay. Love can still exist, but damage still needs time. Forgiveness is not a button someone can press after proof appears. This is a lesson many people need to understand. When someone hurts you for years, they do not get full access to your heart just because they finally understand the truth. Sorry is a start. It is not the finish line. Rilla gives her mother a path, not instant forgiveness. She says, "Start by not calling me dead anymore." That is simple, but powerful. It means, before you ask for my love, stop repeating the lie that destroyed me. Before healing, there must be honesty. Before reunion, there must be respect. The story also shows a different kind of revenge. Rilla does not destroy her mother. She does not humiliate her for pleasure. She exposes the truth and stops the real villain. That is quiet revenge. The revenge is not cruelty. The revenge is proof. The revenge is survival. The revenge is standing alive in front of people who buried you in their story. This is why the title works so well. My mother said I died the day I left. Sounds like rejection. Then she found out why I went. Turns it into mystery and justice. The ending makes the title emotional instead of just dramatic. There is also a strong lesson about family loyalty. Many people think loyalty means believing family no matter what. But this story shows that blind loyalty can be dangerous. Ivena thinks she is being loyal to Demer because he is family and he helped them. But real loyalty is not blind. Real loyalty asks questions. Real loyalty protects the truth, not just the person who speaks first. Rilla is the truly loyal one because she protects her family even when they hate her. But even Rilla's loyalty has a cost. The story does not make sacrifice look easy or beautiful. It shows sacrifice as lonely, painful, and unfair. Another lesson is about paperwork, money, and trust. Demer uses documents to trap people. Forged signatures, fake loans, business accounts, collateral papers. These are not just business details. They are weapons in the wrong hands. The story reminds us that trust should not replace awareness. You can love someone and still read what they ask you to sign. You can respect a relative and still check the numbers. Many families get damaged because one trusted person handles everything, and nobody questions them until it is too late. The story says, Do not confuse comfort with safety. Rilla's character also teaches emotional discipline. She has many chances to scream, but she chooses timing. She knows anger would make her look like the person Demer described, so she stays controlled until the evidence can speak. That does not mean she has no feelings. It means she knows feelings alone will not save her. This is a mature lesson. In a world where people often react quickly, Rilla shows the power of waiting, documenting, and choosing the right moment. Calmness here is not weakness. It is strategy. At the same time, the story does not say everyone should suffer silently. Rilla's silence was because of a legal danger and a specific investigation. The lesson is not never speak. The lesson is, when you are facing a powerful lie, protect yourself with proof, safe help, and the right plan. Rilla does not fight alone. Nadia Flint matters because she represents structure, law, and outside support. Without Nadia, Rilla's truth might stay trapped. So the story also tells us to seek help beyond the family when the family system is broken. Sometimes the people inside the house are too close to see the fire. Let's also talk about the ending. Rilla does not move back home right away. This is realistic and emotionally strong. Many stories rush forgiveness because audiences like a clean ending. But this story chooses a more honest ending. Rilla answers some calls and ignores others. Her mother reads the letters slowly. Price reconnects with her through small actions, like bringing groceries. The healing happens in small steps. That is how real life often works. Big truth may come out in one night, but trust returns in pieces. The final image of warmth is beautiful. The old heater starts again in the repair bay. It coughs, rattles, and pushes warm air into the cold room. That is not just a machine. It is a symbol of the family trying to become warm again after years of emotional winter. It is not perfect warmth. It is weak, dusty, and slow, but it is real. That is the kind of ending that stays with people. Not everything is fixed, but the lie is no longer in charge. So what do we learn from Rilla's story? First, we learn that silence is not always guilt. Sometimes silence is survival. Second, we learn that the person who leaves may not be the person who abandoned the family. Sometimes the real abandonment happens when nobody asks why they left. Third, we learn that manipulation often works by making the wrong person look guilty. Demer did not only frame Rilla with money, he framed her inside her mother's heart. Fourth, we learn that evidence matters. Feelings can be twisted, but receipts, records, letters, and recordings can bring light back into a dark room. We also learn that apologies need action. Ivena saying sorry is not enough by itself. She must stop repeating the lie. She must face every letter. She must admit the truth publicly because she helped spread the lie publicly. That is a strong moral point. If you damage someone's name in front of people, healing cannot stay completely private. You may not need to share every detail, but you must correct the false story where you helped create it. And finally, this story teaches us about a very painful kind of love. Rilla's love was not soft or easy. It was lonely. It paid bills in secret. It stood outside a cemetery. It wrote letters that came back. It carried hate so others could stay safe. That kind of love should never be demanded from anyone, but when it happens, it deserves to be seen. For 7 years, Rilla was treated like the family's shame. But in the end, she was the reason the family still had a home, a shop, and a chance to know the truth. This is why the story feels emotional. It is not just about proving innocence. It is about being alive after someone you love has already buried you in their mind. Rilla comes back not to beg for her place, but to return the truth to the room. And once truth enters, every false sentence loses power. Her mother said she died the day she left, but the truth was much heavier. Rilla had not died. She had been carrying the family through the cold from far away. And when they finally found out why she went, the whole meaning of her silence changed forever. The end